Hello, hello, Sarah of SEK Handmade here, and today I'm going to share with you how to work the star stitch. No, the margarite stitch. No, the star stitch. They're the same thing. Let's go. You guys, whether you call this the margarite stitch or the star stitch, it is gorgeousness. I love the texture of this stitch, and one of my most favorite things about it is that it is not nearly as complicated as it looks. You can totally do this, so let's do it. I have found that when you are first practicing this stitch, it's easiest to work your first row back into stitches rather than into the chain. It's totally possible to work it into the chain. It's just a little more finicky, especially if working into a chain is something you struggle with a little bit. So what I have done here is I've worked a row of single crochets. So this stitch is a multiple of 2. So you're going to start out with what number times 2 you want. I did 2 times 3, which is 6. And then if you're just going to work into the chains, you want to add 3 to that because you need an extra stitch, and then you need 2 turning chains. Since, not to make this complicated, since I am working into a row of stitches, I needed my multiple of 2, which I decided I was going to do 3 of the stitch. Multiple of 3 plus 1. So 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. Stay with me here. Then I decided to do a row of single crochets, which has 1 turning chain. So I chained 8, and then I worked 7 single crochets back into my chain. And now we're going to get into the stitch. So the very next thing you need to do is to chain 2. So I'm going to chain 1, 2. Now I tend to chain before I turn my work, and either way is totally fine. But I will say for this stitch, I do find that chaining before you turn, I just find it a little easier, because the first thing you're going to do is you're going to work into the back bumps of those 2 chains that you made. So I'm going to insert into the chain closest to my hook, and I'm going to pull up a loop. Now I have 2 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to go into the other chain that I made, yarn over and pull up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook. Now is when I find it best to turn my work, but this is personal preference. Play around with it. If you find something else works better, that is totally fine. The next thing I'm going to do is insert my hook into the very first stitch and pull up a loop for 4 loops on my hook. And then I'm going to do that 2 more times. Pull up a loop in the next stitch and in the next stitch. And now I have 6 loops on my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is for your first stitch only, that it's going to look like this. After this, it's going to be a little different, so stay with me here. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to turn my hook all the way down, and I'm going to pull through all of those loops. The trick to that is making sure that the hook is turned down so that you're not catching those loops as you pull through. And then you're just going to chain 1. And there is your first stitch. Isn't she pretty? For our next stitch, we're going to pull up the same number of loops. We're just going to place them in different places. Once you get the hang of it, it is super easy to repeat over and over again. So we're going to start by pulling up a loop in the center of our last stitch, that chain that we made. So pull up a loop in the center there, and you have 2 loops on your hook. Now this next loop you can pull up right here, but I really like having all of those little loops show. So what I do is I go to the back and I'm going to pull up my loop behind all of those loops so that that one on the front still shows. So now I have 3 loops. Then I'm going to pull up a loop in the same stitch that I finished my last stitch in. 4 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to work in the next 2 stitches. So pull up a loop, 1 and 1 more, 2, 4, 6 loops on our hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same as before, yarn over, turn your hook down so you're not snagging on those loops, and pull on through, and then chain 1 to close your stitch. I have 1 more to do, so let's do that again. Insert into the center or the chain of your previous stitch, insert behind in the last loop of your previous stitch, insert in the last stitch you worked your previous stitch into, then in the next 2 stitches. For again 6 loops on your hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through all of those loops, chain. So in this final stitch, which we've already worked part of our previous stitch in, we're going to work a half double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, complete your half double crochet. And that just keeps our counts right, and it keeps really nice straight edges. This stitch pattern is a 2-row repeat. So we're not done just yet. We have 1 more row to work, but the good news is this second row is even easier than working this first row. We're just going to be working single crochets. So chain 1 for your next row, give your work a turn, and then you're going to work 1 single crochet into your final half double crochet. Then we're going to work 2 single crochets into the center chain of each of our previous stitches. Depending on how tightly you've pulled that chain will depend on how easy or hard it is to get your hook in there. But go ahead and insert your hook. You're going to single crochet once, then you're going to skip over all of this and go straight to the center of your next stitch and single crochet once, single crochet twice. Then we've got 1 more stitch to do here, so I'm going to single crochet twice in that one as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a single crochet in my starting chain, which can be a little finicky, but that is what helps us keep our edges even and our stitch counts even. Now this is the wrong side of our stitch, and so this is what it looks like from the front. And you can see those single crochets in the center just make the pattern go all the way around in a circle. So, so beautiful. Then you just repeat the same steps we did for this one. Chain 2, insert, pull up loops in the back loop of your chains, pull up all your loops, and you'll be off and running on this gorgeous, gorgeous stitch. I hope you found this video super helpful in perfecting the star stitch or the margarite stitch, whatever you want to call it. It is a gorgeous stitch with amazing texture. And I'm going to link in the description below some patterns that include this stitch if you're ready to dive in and you don't already have a pattern. I would love it if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel. Maybe even share this with a friend who might also enjoy this gorgeous stitch. Thank you again for joining me today, and happy crafting!